It was supposed to be a typical episode of The View. A guest comes on. The panel engages in polite yet pointed questioning, and the audience cheers in all the right places. But when Dr. Ben Carson took the stage, things went in a completely different direction. Dr. Carson didn't just hold his ground. He delivered one of the most epic clapbacks in daytime television history. By the time the dust settled, Whoopi Goldberg and her co-hosts were left scrambling for words, while the audience erupted in applause. If you're a fan of intelligent, composed, and fact-based rebuttals, this was a masterclass you don't want to miss. The episode kicked off like any other. The panel greeted Dr. Ben Carson warmly, but you could sense the tension simmering under the surface. From the moment he sat down, it was clear that the co-hosts had come prepared, not for a meaningful dialogue, but for a showdown. The first question seemed innocuous enough. Why did you endorse Donald Trump? Whoopi, with her trademark smirk, leaned forward as if expecting an apology or excuse.
I'm sure you get this question a lot, but why did you endorse Donald Trump?
But Dr. Carson's response? Pure gold. I was going to remain neutral, he began. But I realized that the political establishment was aligning to protect their turf. They don't like the idea of people who aren't beholden to them stepping into Washington. You could almost hear a pin drop. The audience, unsure whether to cheer or stay quiet, waited for the panel's response.
Well, you know, when I dropped out, my first choice went with me. But I said that...
It was you,
You know, I was going to remain neutral. But then I realized that, you know, the political establishment was aligning to protect their turf. And they don't like the idea of people who are not beholden to them and who cannot be controlled coming into Washington, D.C. And that was one of the reasons they didn't like me very much, but I was easier to get rid of than Donald Trump.
And then came the inevitable follow from Whoopi, dripping with condescension. But why would you align yourself with someone who has made comments about women? Dr. Carson didn't flinch. Instead, he calmly pointed out Trump's record of inclusivity, referencing his actions in Palm Beach, where he broke barriers that many others had ignored. Does he say things I wouldn't? Of course. But actions speak louder than words.
Sir, I hate to ask this question, but you have aligned yourself with a man who has bashed women, made countless racist remarks, and you're Ben Carson. Why would you align yourself with that?
Well, you know, you have to look at the good and the bad. There is no perfect person.
No, I know that.
But you know, you look at when Donald Trump first went down to Palm Beach area, and you know, a lot of the clubs down there would not accept Jews and blacks. He insisted on Jews and blacks and helped to break that open. So has he said some things that I wouldn't say or that you wouldn't say? Of course.
Sonny, determined to undermine his point, interrupted with a retort about Trump's legal issues from decades ago. The Justice Department sued him for housing discrimination in the 70s. She said smugly, clearly expecting this to be a game ender. But Carson wasn't fazed. I've met many of his employees, including African Americans, who have nothing but good things to say about him. Look at his family. Well-raised, respectful, and hardworking. That tells you a lot about a person.
Well, was sued by the Justice Department in the 70s for not allowing black tenants into his properties, and he settled with the Justice Department, even though he didn't admit any liability, any wrongdoing. It's very clear to those of us in the law that that means that there was something amiss, and it was a significant consent decree. So the notion that he is a fan of the African American community, I think is
well. I will put it this way: I have met a lot of his employees, including African Americans, and they have nothing but good things to say. Somebody who's hired as many people as he has hired, and you can find very few people who have anything negative to say.
Well, what about
and then you have to look at his family. I always say one of the ways that you measure a person is looking at their children and how do their children act.
Well, one's a big game hunter. I'm not thrilled with that.
Well, I mean, that's your privilege. But the fact of the matter is, You know, they have been raised very well. They're very respectful. And, you know, I look at a lot of kids who come from very wealthy families, and I am appalled at what I see. So there is no perfect person, but what I think is really the worst thing that threatens our nation right now is a political class, a ruling class, and they are so threatened by anybody who is not beholden to them, they will do virtually anything.
The conversation shifted to broader issues, with Whoopi attempting to corner Carson on his stance regarding race and inequality. But he hasn't denounced white supremacists. She claimed, "You're Ben Carson. You're better than this." Dr. Carson's response was the moment that cemented his dominance in the discussion. "I hear these accusations about racism, but I haven't seen any proof. Could I focus only on racial issues? Sure. But right now, the nation is at a crossroads, and we have bigger challenges to address." The audience erupted in applause, and Whoopi's usual composure seemed to falter. For once, the panel didn't have a comeback.
I think that's
you
what's
can say
likely
that
to
till the
destroy
cows come home, sir. This guy is, I'm sorry, he's a racist, and he's not good for the country.
What's the alternative?
And I'm sorry, I don't understand. He's not said about the white supremacists. He hasn't really said to them, hey, listen, that's not what America stands for. He said, you know, it's too much. You're Ben Carson. You're so much better than this.
Well, I am Ben Carson. And that's the very reason I'm doing this, is because I look at the big picture. Could I focus only on racial issues? Absolutely. Could I focus only on women's issues? Absolutely. I could look at any one little thing and pick anybody apart on it. But right now, the nature of our country is at stake. We are on the precipice.
Exactly what we're
and
worried about.
we are determining what kind of nation we're going to be. Are we going to be a nation that's upformed by the people or upformed by the government? This is a choice that we are making right now.
Joy Behar, visibly frustrated, tried one last-ditch effort to derail the conversation by bringing up a personal attack. But what about when Trump compared you to a child molester? This was supposed to be her knockout punch, but Carson turned it into a teachable moment. Even if it were personal, I wouldn't let that distract me. This isn't about me. It's about saving the nation. And just like that, the conversation shifted back to the bigger picture. Carson emphasized the importance of focusing on policies that benefit the American people rather than petty personal attacks. It was a mic drop moment that left the panel visibly shaken. Watching Dr. Ben Carson hold his ground was nothing short of inspiring.
If you're going to overlook what he says about women, if you're going to overlook what he says about African Americans, what about what he said about you? He basically said that you had a pathological disease. Wait a minute. Hold on. He even compared you to a child molester. Come on. Well, it could be personal, even.
If it were about me, I would be offended. Right. But it's about America. We have to save this nation. That is what's important.
But he's a liar. Unless you say that you're a child molester.
While the co-hosts of The View tried their best to derail the conversation with interruptions, accusations, and personal jabs, he remained calm, composed, and laser-focused on the issues that truly matter.
You want a lawyer for the president?
Tell me a politician who doesn't tell lies.
Abraham Lincoln. I don't know.
A current day politician.
But the lying that he does is continuous. It's on a regular basis.
Well, again,
fact check goes berserk when he talks. He's got a long Pinocchio nose.
What I have to do is look at who is most likely to oppose the ruling class that is ruining our country.
Yeah, well,
who is likely?
He's the ruling class.
Who is likely?
He is the ruling class.
He said that there would be room for you in his cabinet, in his administration. Did he make any promises to you, and is that behind your endorsement?
No, not at all. And in fact, you know, we agreed that we want to save this nation, particularly for the next generation, and talked about a variety of ways to do it. I'm continuing to work on mechanisms of presenting ladders of opportunity that will allow the downtrodden in our society to climb out of a state of dependency. Right now, the programs that have been put forth by both Democrats and Republicans for the last few decades are doing nothing but creating more dependency. We've gone from a can-do nation to a what can you do for me nation. It's not a good thing, and it's not helping America, and it's not helping the world.
Let me ask you this, Dr. Carson, and we know each other. I will say my husband went to Hopkins Medical School, and you and your wife and your family were always so gracious to us by inviting us into your home many times, fellowship, dinner. And so I know you are a man of family values. What do you make of the fact that Donald Trump just yesterday is attacking Ted Cruz's wife based on her looks?
Look, I do
and
not
has attacked other women.
I do not condone any of that. I don't condone it from anybody.
But you've endorsed him. Isn't that implicit in that endorsement?
No.
Aren't you
Implicit
endorsing
in the endorsement
his behavior?
is not an endorsement of anything that anybody has said or done throughout their lives. The reason, again, that I'm endorsing him is because I recognize that we are heading down the exact same path that we have been on all along. These political types are very slick, and they get you to believe that everything's different now. Now we're going to be wonderful people, and we're not going to be doing this to the populace anymore. And that is absolutely not true. You're missing my point.
What's your point?
What is the point?
What is it?
You're missing the point. The point is that we have to focus on the things that are essential to America, like First Amendment rights, not personalities. That's the problem. We always want to focus on personalities.
But you've met with Donald Trump behind closed doors. Have you seen any evidence that he's really not the bombastic, sort of baiting personality?
It's moments like these that expose the flaws in platforms like The View, where meaningful dialogue often takes a back seat to drama and partisanship. Dr. Carson reminded us all of the importance of staying grounded in facts and refusing to be dragged into the mud. What did you think of Dr. Carson's responses? Do you think the panel was out of line, or were they just doing their job? Let us know in the comments below.